now to give more insights and, of course, more depth to our review this morning is Uminioden. Uminioden, good morning.
Good to have you. Radiant. I love Kingsley's cap this morning.
Yeah, yours is also good. What's
More in Nigeria.
You're having a touch of blue. Onyedibia, who took the news, had a touch of blue. You have a touch of blue. Rhoda has a touch of blue on turquoise.
Is that blue or green?
No, what turquoise, and then yeah, that's a flex of blue. And I also have a blue.
The sky is blue this morning.
Isn't blue? The sky is gray.
It's gray. It's dark.
All right, so let's take a look at the front page. Politics dominates the front pages of the papers, but there are also some human interest stories that we should also be taking a look at. That's, of course, the continuing stories with regard to the offer robbery on the Senate president. Some allege, it's all tied up with politics. But let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. From top to bottom, it's very busy, very busy. Federal government okays 10-year validity period for passports. That's international passport. Details on page 19. Defections. APC rules out automatic tickets for lawmakers. That's page 7. And grazing violence has killed more than Boko Haram, says ICG. ICG stands for International Crisis Group. Details can be found on page 13. Suspend recess. Approved 2019 post-budget presidency begs National Assembly. And then an earpiece beside the nameplate of the Punch newspaper. Injustice within APC unbearable. That's attributed to the Kwara governor. Okowa welcomes autumn to PDP, says the party lacks capacity. Political stories. Details can be found on pages 13 and 19. Next story says offer robberies. That's the kicker. Police grill Saraki in National Assembly. And controversy surrounds Melaye's whereabouts. The photograph on the front page there shows a youth corps member who collapsed during the course of the parade rehearsals at the NYC orientation camp at Mango in Plateau State. And then don't blame leaders alone for Nigeria's problems. That's President Buhari. EFCC arraigns Stella Obasanjo's brother, John Abebe, for forgery. Page 42. Katsina woman throws grandchild into well to teach daughter-in-law a lesson. Page 8. And Facebook CEO Zuckerberg loses over $15 billion in one day. A hazard to the stock market.
All right, so let's quickly take a look at the Daily Independent. On the Daily Independent, let's begin just above the nameplate. It says, offer robbery, police squeeze Saraki at the National Assembly. That's a story that's trending on page 38. Now, the lead story, APC offers automatic tickets to loyal senators and reps. APC offers automatic tickets to loyal senators and reps with riders there. Why Saraki and I will leave APC, Governor Hackman, and of course, defenders ready to work for Buhari in 2019, says presidency. And just beside the picture story, it says, Nigeria's underdevelopment, not my own making. Statement that to President Muhammadu Buhari. That's on page 4. Melaye's family worried over his whereabouts and safety. That's on page 5. And below that, herdsmen violence 6 times deadlier than Boko Haram insurgency. ICGC. And the foot of the paper, Dogara Lasson absent as APC reps caucus meeting meets party leadership. Dogara Lasson absent as APC reps caucus meets party leadership with 2 riders there. No negotiations with mercenaries or Shomole vows, and I remain APC member, says Shehu Sani. All right, let's begin with, of course, the offer robbery story, and of course, we're aware that the Senate President is being interrogated at the National Assembly.
Well, we'll get to the offer story, but let's take from the, like Kingsley said, the bulk of the papers have political stories. And when you look at the entire political stories, despite whichever angle the papers have taken them, meeting by defectors, defectors assuring that they will support Mr. President, the whole boils down to elections. And there are 3 cardinal takeaways here. The president, sometime in one of the solidarity visits by a group to him, had said, don't boast about the possession of your PVC, that's the permanent voter's card. It is how well you use the PVC, the strength of your PVC lies on how well you use it on the day of balloting. So that is one takeaway. The other takeaway is former President Olusegun Obasanjo, while hosting a PDP presidential hopeful, has said one of the problems of Nigeria is that of leadership, that it will support the candidate who has capacity to deliver, who will take Nigeria to the promised land, that the dearth of leadership has been the problem in the country. Then the third takeaway is by the national chairman of APC, Adams Oshimole. I'm surprised one of the papers, Independent, is talking about, he is saying they will give automatic ticket to defectors. He never said so. Rather, he talked about the need, if you have political interest or you want to contest, have relevance from the rural area. Go down the roots and have a base. That the bottom line is that most often people just come at the center, either use money or get automatic ticket, and when the parties need them to function, they don't have relevance back home. Now, if you have relevance back home, you need not do so much to win an election. So those are the takeaways for election to work. You as the electorate, what strength you know about your PVC? How well will you use it? And who are you electing? And the person elected has relevance back home. So that's how I dismiss all the political stories. Back to offer robbery. You know, yesterday, the senior president had talked about him explaining to the police. And the police said they will insist on the force of law. And they went to his office, interrogated him. But he made a request. He reminded them that when Mr. President intervened, he has said that if they have any issues with him, by way of a written letter and a response from him will solve the problem. So that has taken place yesterday. He has explained to them, a crack team of detectives were in his office, and they interrogated him. He offered explanation to the issue, and he has said that he is not culpable. The police says he has a case to answer.
All right. So, I mean, the simple thing is police, I'm sure they're still gathering their evidence in order to build up a case file, so-called proofs of evidence, charge the suspects to court, and then let them go and defend themselves. All right, let's return to the papers. New Telegraph, the stories, of course, the lead story is on politics. As we earlier indicated, 2019, no automatic tickets for lawmakers. That's according to Oshomole. I mean, it just clarified that, contrary to what one of the papers was reporting. Then there are three riders to that. Reps to APC, you need to appreciate and retain loyalists. Dogara and Lassun Sean Pally at page 5, and presidency begs National Assembly to convene emergency session. That should be convened, actually, emergency session. Then below the two photographs, there also from the Batch B events, including the photograph of the young corps member who obviously collapsed because of the parade. Now below that you say ICG report. I earlier read that story also from the Punch newspaper. ICG, International Crisis Group. Herdsmen attacks claimed 1,300 lives in 6 months. 300,000 flee homes in Benue, Plateau, Taraba, and 2 states. Details on page 6. And good blood pressure control cuts memory loss, page 29.
All right, now the Nigerian pilot, same stories are also trending, political, and because the bank robbery issue. It says, of a bank robbery, police interrogate Saraki in his office, and confusion over Dino Milaye's whereabouts. And the lead story says, no shaking. Presidency boasts that defected lawmakers will support Buhari's re-election bid. Another writer there says they only have issues with their state governors. MPs assured me they are solidly behind me, says Buhari, and insists they'll campaign for him on APC platform. And below there you have some stories there. It says Governor Hackman drops a hint on quitting APC, and it says, forget Buhari's impeachment for now, Ohaneze tells National Assembly. And there, Oshun 2018, show your certificate in 6 days, court tells Adeleke. Bandits abduct priest, 2 others demand 50 million naira ransom. And finally on page 13, it says, Plateau Hospital records 430 cases of snake bites in 8 months.
I think we should rather look at the editorial for today, because we have already summarized the entire stories. I gave 3 takeaways. And
yeah, before we go to the editorial, now the other story, the story about the grandmother who threw her granddaughter into a well. That story It's on the front page of New Telegraph below the nameplate. It's also there on the front page of the Punch newspaper. And it says, Katsina woman throws grandchild into well to teach daughter-in-law a lesson. That's on page 8. Now, there are other human interest stories. Very quickly, another human interest story, this time from page 9 of New Telegraph. If we can see that on the screen. It says, delayed by police. Asthmatic patient collapses and dies on road. Now, this incident is said to have taken place in Lagos, Acme Road, Ogba, in the Ikeja area of Lagos. It said the police were alleged to have stopped him on the 11th of July, and the victim repeatedly begged the police to allow him to go because he was heading to the hospital. But the police refused. Now, the victim, 63 years old, was said to have had a crisis and collapsed at the feet of the policeman. The report says, rather than rush him to the hospital, the policeman bolted, leaving him on the road, struggling to breathe.
Well, the lady who killed her grandchild is quite a touchy story, and I think they say when two parties have a disagreement, wanting to solve the problem and say, I'm sorry. The story has it that she had a misunderstanding with her daughter-in-law, and on this fateful day, they left the baby with her. The daughter-in-law and the husband, her son, left to attend a naming ceremony, and she failed to get and to hurt the her daughter-in-law. She tied the boy and threw the boy, her granddaughter, into the well. Before they could come back, it was in an attempt to escape to an unknown destination. The police caught up with her and arrested her.
Well, sometimes I think some of these things have to do with mental health.
I'm sorry, just enough to solve the problem. If I have a problem with you, and I'm sorry, Rhoda.
That does it, you know.
That's right. I mean, let's take a look at the editorial now. It's from the Authority newspaper, and it's the fight against fake news. It says, in part, going by the definition which substantially captures what fake news means, it is apparent that fake news is a scourge that must be fought to a strong team.
Actually, this is the period for the reader, the viewer, the listener. There are a lot of agents of fake news. A couple of days ago, the NTA on Tuesday Live dwelt on it. The Minister of Information was there to know the danger of fake news. You should process and look in-depthly on any story you see. Don't eat mostly on social media. Yeah. We have this trend of sharing.
Yeah.
Try to read copiously and make reference to maybe the traditional media, talking about television station like the NTA, the newspapers, and be sure which is, because these periods are very, very trying moments.
All right, so Dan, thank you very much for your insight this morning in our review. Hopefully we'll see you again on Monday morning, and I hope you enjoy your weekend.
Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God.
Friday.
All right, we'll take a short break now. We have 2 items for discussion. It's something that you don't want to miss. We'll be back shortly.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Winning in hot and dry conditions is hard. Causes the body to sweat, which attracts germs that are easily passed from one person to another.
What keeps you so cool, man?
Dettol Cool combines Dettol's protection and an invincible icy feel. For super cool confidence, use Dettol Cool.
Dettol soap is now also available for 100 Naira only.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Helen! Your kitchen gets 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
This also gets a 10. Should we see the toilet now?
Sure.
This gets just 1.
It is clean.
But not perfect 10.
Better than my detergent and bleach? Impossible.
Challenge? Try the new Apic 10X. Compared to bleach and detergent, Apic sticker formulation removes yellow stains times better, giving you a sparkling clean toilet.
Wow.
Now you also take that
Apic 10X challenge.
Also available in 200 ml pack.
Madam. Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three put
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah?
You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. You saw it? That's the Nigerian rice I'm talking about. Chocolate made Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how we make.
Correct.
And how they are cooking.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, you're welcome back. And if you've just joined us, it's still morning. Nigeria, and I indicated that we have 2 items for discussion. Let's begin with the first one, and we're revisiting the issue of drug abuse and its impact on the Nigerian society. Let's take this report put together by Timothy Yusuf that would, of course, set the tone for our discussion this morning.
All right, we sincerely apologize for that footage. It wasn't intended to be part of the background. We again apologize for that footage. It wasn't intended to be part of the background. But let's go straight ahead to introduce our guests. My colleague Rhoda indicated that we are revisiting the issue of drug abuse. It's a matter that we have always touched on Good Morning Nigeria. If you recall, just months ago, we had a father son who, of course, who's kicked the habit, and then the father was also here, plus the medical practitioner who assisted them, in kicking the habit. And of course, we've also always had the drug law enforcement agencies, psychiatrists, as well as clinical physicians, to discuss the issue, including rehabilitation and what facilities are available in the country. But right now, as I indicated, we're introducing our guests. 2 of them are actually retired service personnel who are now into community service, and that's why we are focusing on this. First, we'd like to welcome Brigadier General Mohammed Danjuma Yusuf, as I indicated, is retired. He's the Executive Chairman of Youth and Public Safety Awareness Initiative. Pleasure to have you with us on Nigeria.
Thank you.
All right. Also with us, another retired service personnel, Major General Anthony Ajemba. He's a medical doctor, and he's here with us on the program. Dr. General Ajemba, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then also here with us is Professor Osisioma Onwolise. Onwolise is a consultant on political and social science at the Youth and Public Safety Awareness Initiative. Very well, political scientist, Professor Onwolise. Pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right. Rhoda, let's begin, gentlemen, by indicating this. We understand that there's an awareness campaign by your initiative that is afoot. Tell us something about this awareness campaign. When is it kicking off? Who is the target audience, and where will it take place?
Yes, thank you very much. The awareness, we all know that the fire burning, the drug abuse fire that is, consuming Nigeria is burning very fiercely. And we have to do something as a preventive measures to, save Nigeria from this menace. So we come together with, as all of us here, to form an NGO that's Youth and Public Safety Awareness Initiative. And we've planned some programs to go nationwide. And we've already started it because about 3 weeks ago, we were in the Armed Forces radio, to talk about drug abuse and the effects on Nigerian society. So we are very grateful that we are called here today to talk about this same thing. That's awareness, drug abuse campaign already started. So we have a positive response from the governor of Kano State. That one, we want to do some 2 days campaign program. Awareness campaign in Kano State. Okay. The governor has given a positive response, and but as soon as this the school resumes, like September, toward the end of September, we are going to start that one in Kano. So we appeal to all state governments and even the federal government and even individual organizations to please assist us when we talk to them so that we can hold this program nationwide.
Okay, so you don't have a specific date right now, but then
no, we don't have a specific date right resumes,
now. You intend to start beginning from Kano, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, you're taking it to other parts of the country.
Yes, definitely.
All right, let's go over now to Major General Anthony Life. I want to ask you, what, over time or just in the recent past, we've had campaigns like this that have been held because of the rise in the issue of drug abuse. What's going to make this campaign different from others that have been organized in the past?
Well, this is going to be different because we have experts in different fields who have decided to come together. And then we have certain statistics that are frightening that has made drug abuse or substance abuse a menace to the youth. A situation where over almost 50% of youths, 48.5% of our youths between the ages of 15 and 35 are abusing one form of drugs or the other, calls for an alarm. So we are putting things together to go around the states, talk with the state governments, the local governments, even to the villages, to make them get to know the bad effects of drug abuse. So it's a very comprehensive outreach we're doing.
Well, in terms of the stats that you have, you were just saying just now that some 48.5%, nearly 50% of persons in the age bracket 13 to 35 are abusing all kinds of substances. What else do we know in terms of the special distribution of drug abuse? Incidentally, we have also had on the program the wives of northern governors. At least 2 of them were here on the program to discuss what's happening in the northern part of the country. We also have the problem in other major cities around the country. So what exactly are we seeing now in terms of either spatial distribution or, if you like, the kinds of the social economic status of those who are getting into drug abuse?
For the statistics available from NDA, we found out that the northwestern part of this country, northwest zone, has the highest percentage of people abusing drugs. In fact, in 2016, about 6 million bottles of codeine were consumed daily in the northwest. Kano State topped the list with about 3 million, followed by Jigawa State. Then North Central, South-South, Southeast, and then Southwest, in that order. So it's quite very frightening. When you see a lot of youths who are of, you know, working age, but they are just not useful to the system, you wonder what will happen in the next few years when the old men retire. There won't be capable hands to take over from them. And it cuts across both educated and those who are not even educated. So Northwest zone of Nigeria has the highest number of youths abusing drugs.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Osisioma Nwolese. When you're part of this initiative, what is the scope of this campaign against the backdrop of some of the data that we've just heard?
For now, we're just taking off, and as has been said, once we take off, it's going to be nationwide. But in terms of intellectualizing the problematic, a lot of writings have been done, a lot of statistics have been read out, but the issue is that how many Nigerians are reading? So if you are talking of publications for people to be aware, on the internet, everything is there in the university libraries, in school libraries, they are there. So the scope is wide, but who is interested? Nigeria is not a reading society. That's the problem. So it's things like this that would practically be in the field that can widen the scope of those that are reached practically. That is what is in terms of intellectualizing it, in terms of publications, it's nationwide. But how many people are getting access to this? That's the problem.
All right. Let's get some more, in-depth into this in terms of funding from General Danjuma Yusuf. How do you intend to fund this? Because this is drug abuse campaign is not something that is it takes a lot of money. How do you intend to go about the funding?
Yes, actually, we as members of this organization have put in our best to reach where we are now, and we are appealing to state government, private public organizations to come to our assistance. And as I said, the Kano State government has already, the governor, Dr. Andrew has already given us a positive, approval. We are waiting for them to call us to come and release money, and then we start the program there. We kick it off. So we are having, as the professor said, some groups of people that are going to be part of it, even including some foreign experts. Then we're actually we are reaching out. We are going to it's not like as the professor said, Nigerians, how many people now are watching this TV now? Very few. So like the children, secondary school children.
General, we have an audience around the world.
Yes, those ones that the people want to reach out to, like students, secondary school and tertiary institution, half of them are watching us. That's we are being frank, and a lot of them, how many parents will tell them come and watch this now? Very few. And then when they watch it, are they there to gain what really want to them to gain? They will not be able to, because it's entertainment. So we all know that Nigerians use now, they just think of only entertainment. They don't listen or watch what is very beneficial to them. So that's why we are doing another approach, like the doctor said, the general said. So we are going out to them, not them coming to like a workshop or seminar. It's beyond that. So we go to their schools, go to their assembly halls and listen and talk to them, and then we show them some, as the doctor will soon show, some graphic, presentation to them, so that they know that this is the cost. This is what, if they take this drug, this is what will happen to their body. So that is why our approach now is quite different from others, because you talk. Some people, you just talk, they will just go and put it, away in one corner of their room or whatever. So this is the approach we want to adopt now. And then our participants include market women, cycle riders, civil servants, teachers, and even military and security agencies personnel. So this is our approach.
Okay, General Ajeba, give us a sense of what your focus will be in terms of the campaign, because the spectrum with regard to substance or drug abuse is quite elaborate, as you very well know. Addressing the demand side, addressing the supply side, issues of rehabilitation, care. So what will be the focus of your campaign?
We'll start by first getting the audience to know what is drug abuse or substance abuse. Because some people are actually taking drugs without knowing that they're into drug abuse. So after giving them idea what drug abuse is, we'll go into areas that we can signs of that certain groups of people are abusing drugs. And then we now go into areas of prevention, because prevention is actually the key. And part of what we're going to talk about prevention includes both the state government, NGOs, and then individuals. For instance, the government needs to, tighten up its law enforcement concerning, preventing drugs from crossing the borders. NDA, the police, we have a lot of couriers. They've been arrested. But what about the drug barons that send the couriers? We've never heard of many of these drug barons being arrested, and they have money to do all this. So that's on the part of the government. Then on the part of the individuals, they understand that certain things, certain drugs, when you take it, it looks pleasurable, but these are the consequences. Many of them will now abstain from it, because they will have a lot of kids who ignorantly go into drug abuse, thinking that it's for fun, or maybe because they want to belong to a group, peer pressure, entertainment, and then they get hooked to this. The advertisement, for instance, when alcohol is advertised, it looks very glamorous, but we've not seen them saying that, apart from saying that if you're under 18, you're not supposed to take alcohol. They've not told us the consequences of alcohol abuse. So we are going to go deep into all these things. There are classes of drugs, narcotics, cocaine, amphetamines, cannabis, that is Indian hemp, sedative hypnotics, where alcohol is also included, the hallucinogens, and then a lot of unclassified substances that are being abused now. Many you know it. Some of them, they go into white parties, friends just give them, say, put this in your drink. And the young ladies, they may not even know they sleep that. Rofinol is a drug that when taken, it blanks the person out. It's a general anesthetics. Young girls get raped, and they will never remember the incidents. So these are the things we have to begin to explain to both parents and then the youths.
Okay, thank you very much. Professor Wallace, this is intended to be a nationwide campaign.
That's right.
How do you intend to galvanize and then mobilize the sub-national governments to key into this? Because ultimately, it has to be localized.
Yes, we're already making efforts. We are writing. The first thing is to write, then book appointment, those who are interested. Because, you see, governance is a sacred duty, but it's not everybody that is interested in the welfare. This is about security. Security goes beyond just putting police and soldiers to protect people. This is about human security. And we need to understand that security has gone beyond just protecting the state. This is about human security. So we write to the leaders and then book appointments. Those who invite us, we go to them and explain what we want to do and solicit their help. The General Yusuf has said, there's nothing we can do other than that. Just writing, communicating, and then getting their support so that the impact can be nationwide.
Thank you very much, Professor Sisioma Wolise. Let's get the closing thoughts of Brigadier General Mohammed Danjuma Yusuf. Let's get your final thoughts on this campaign.
Yes, as the professor said, we want everybody to get involved, because like if you want you see a danger and then you want to have a stick and you want to kill that danger, the 5 fingers have to be all of them. If you remove this one, your defect is not going to be very as effective as when you do all the 5 fingers. So that's why I said we are appealing to everybody, and then we don't have to leave everything to the government alone. That's why we on our own decide to come, use our own resources, and then appeal to other people to assist us, like the DG NTA, graciously appeal for us now to come and talk on this. We know how many billions this one will have cost. Costed the NGO, and even the NNPC too. They want to give us a token and things like that. So we are appealing to everybody, individual organizations, public and organizations, to please come to our aid. Like now, we are adopting 5 sort of legs to these 5 fingers. That's preventive, protective, prosecutive, and then rehabilitation and reintegration. Like now, what do I say? We want everybody, the youth, to have something doing, like skills, to acquire skills, to be able to do something for themselves and make Nigeria great. Like Dangote that we have today, he didn't serve the, he had been on the private side right from youth. So that's what we want to sensitize the youth, that you can be yourself, not necessarily have to depend on drugs. And drugs is not going to, do any good for anybody. See families killing, husband and wives killing themselves and things like that. These are the type of things we want to campaign against, and want to sensitize everybody that yes, you can do it. Yes, we can, as the President Obama used to say, well, yes, we can, and we'll do it.
All right, thank you very much, Brigadier General Mohammed Danjuma Yusuf. We wish you success in your campaign.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And Brigadier General Mohammed Danjuma Yusuf is Executive Chairman, Youth and Public Safety Awareness Initiative. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Kingsley.
That's right. We would also like to appreciate Major General Anthony Ajemba, who is a medical consultant. As we indicated, it's also part of the initiative. Thanks a lot for being around. And Professor Osisioma Wolise, who is a consultant on political and social science at the Youth and Public Safety Awareness Initiative. Prof, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll get into something sweet. That's honey and what to do with it.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Oh boy, climb this thing now. Not be only to collect lights. Come you on yourself now. Now wow. Oh boy, come down now. Oga Kasali, electrician, who would they look for with this? Oh, Oga Kasali, come help us fix this wire now.
Yeah. Sorry, I no longer carry out illegal connection. It puts the lives of people at risk and can cause fire outbreak and disrupt power supply. I will never be part of anything that has to do with this any longer, because change begins with me.
Oh boy, it makes sense. Oh boy, I could carry this ladder from over.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, now just before we get ahead with the conversation, our second topic, which has to do with production and what you need to know, let's take this background report put together by a correspondent, Mr. Babaliu.
Global honey business as at January this year stood at over $450 billion with global output of about 2 million tons annually. Nigeria is not a key player in honey business in spite of the potential the country has for commercial beekeeping in all the 36 states of the country. The major concerns of the Minister of Agriculture, Ogbe, are how the international organizations will support Nigeria to boost her honey production for local and international market.
The beauty here is that Nigerians have responded very well, particularly young people who are showing amazing enthusiasm for agriculture. So we need to support them. We need to find cheaper funding for agri. It's a major challenge.
There are pledges by key players in the honey value chain to support Nigeria, though with caution that honey production must meet the international requirement.
The most important requirement is to submit a residue monitoring plan, which guarantees that there is a competent authority in charge of drafting the plan and ensuring its implementation. The plan must ensure that honey is regularly tested in approved laboratories.
Nigeria is currently producing and exporting an estimated 50,000 tons of honey annually, mostly to West African countries.
All right, you're welcome back, and we have a guest joining us on this discussion this morning. It's on honey production. First of all, we'd like to welcome Dr. Doshima Kwange. She's the director in the Department of Vet and Pest Control Services of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. She's also a chairperson of Africa 2018 Organization Committee. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And also we have Obianuju. She is a Nigeria agriculture platform, and she's also an exporter of honey. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And finally, we have with us Idou Bosco Okelo. He is a CEO at Trade Africa organizations, of course, of the honey conference here in Nigeria. They are the organizers. You're welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, let's begin. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of honey and the matters arising therefrom, the conference that on honey production is taking place in Abuja. Tell us some more about it. My question goes to Ido.
Well, interesting. This APX for Africa is a Pan-African initiative that aims at promoting commercial beekeeping across the continent. And this is the 6th edition, and it's the first that is happening on the west coast of Africa. Previously, we've had this event in countries like Rwanda, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia. So it's intended to ensure that we promote beekeeping at a higher level in Nigeria.
Well, what's our national experience with regard to beekeeping and honey production? I would like Dr. Kwange, that's the Director of the Federal Ministry of Agri, to respond to this.
Beekeeping, as we know, is quite old with mankind, and beekeeping has existed in Nigeria for some time too. Many people are keeping bees. The difference now is that the government is trying to diversify, and beekeeping is one of the ventures that, is to answer this question. And trying to bring together beekeepers from wherever they are to organize them and to commercialize beekeeping. Hitherto, people were hunting honey, so to say, but now we're looking at the point where people will keep bees commercially, where it will become a source of livelihood for Nigerians. So we are on with beekeeping.
All right, Obiano, Okmo, you are a producer and exporter of honey, and if you watched when we were opening this program, of course, a lot we said about in terms of how much honey could earn Nigeria. We're looking at about $10 billion. Then, if as a country we can earn up that in terms of honey production and exportation, one wonders why the industry is still in the state that it is right now.
It's been in this state because a lot of people don't know about beekeeping, and we have not started practicing commercial beekeeping in Nigeria. And the potentials are huge, and for some of us that are playing there right now, we are not at the maximum place that we want to be. There's still room for growth, and there is the space, enough space to accommodate a lot more people. So we are looking to at least capture 1% of the global amount that is earned from hive products, because it's not just all about honey. There are other products that come out of the hives. You have the propolis, you have the bee venom, you have the bee wax, and you also have the royal jelly pollen. So our pharmaceuticals use them. So you find out that you have so many people that are interested in the product. So if Nigeria can just tap into capturing just 1% of the global amount, it would be awesome for us.
What has been the challenge with having to capture or having to get people more aware about the business in honey production?
The sensitization has been very poor. A lot of people know about honey, but they don't know about commercial beekeeping that can earn them money. A barrel of oil sells for about 75 naira per barrel, $75 per barrel. But a barrel of honey sells about a little over $2,000. So you see there's potential for it, but a lot of people don't know about it. People think about agriculture, beekeeping, they think about bees, they feel sting. But really it's much more than that. A lot can be gained by encouraging people, especially the youth now, to get into that space.
What is, I asked the question of from Dr. Kwange. What is the current state of honey production, if you like, beekeeping and honey production in the country? Is this still just subsistence, or people just, what you hear is that people are going into the bush, to hunt for honey? They will cover their heads with blankets so that they don't get stung, and so on and so forth. What do we know at the moment? What is the scope of beekeeping and honey production, for instance?
Because of lack of data collection in Nigeria, I can't give you data on it. But we have a lot of associations that are now turning people into modern beekeeping. For some people, some of us that have been playing in this field for some time, we're also our products are in the market. So we're trying to encourage people to come into the modern way of doing it, so that the quality of it can be competitive with international products that come into the country. Currently, Nigeria imports about 95% of honey consumed in the country, used by pharmaceuticals and consumed on the tables of people. So we are looking to increase our market share in this field, because we're only playing with about 5%.
Where is honey available? Is it, if we are importing 95% of our, shall we say, honey needs, where is honey available in Nigeria, Dr. Kwange?
Honey is available in most states, but at least 16 states are actively producing honey. Now the issue is it's quite low what we are producing, because most of the beekeepers are still at the level of subsistence beekeeping, which is why the government is trying to encourage people to go into commercial agriculture. And then quite a lot of the honey that is produced, because of the low level of the players in the field, you find that it's not well packaged, so you won't find most of it in the supermarket. I'm sure when you drive along the road, you see some in bottles along the road. And that's what we are trying to change by bringing this event, so that they can see that if they do things correctly, then their products will be marketable, not just within Nigeria, but also in the international market.
I'm wondering, what does it take to go into commercial beekeeping? Because you said the challenge is getting people to go into commercial beekeeping. Well, what does it entail?
The challenge, as she said, is really awareness. Most people don't know that they can do this.
What about funding?
Pardon?
Funds.
Funding, the way I look at it, if you look at other livestock ventures, this one is really cost effective. You don't need too much, to do that. If you have between 5 and 10 hives, you are really already in the business. And a hive for the Kenya top bar, for the top bar hives, about 12,000, gives you a hive. And then
12,000. Are you talking about
naira?
Naira. Okay.
Yes. Then the boost, the bee suit, and then the hive tools. I'll say about 60 naira, 60,000 naira. Thereabout, about 25,000 naira should give you a hive with the suit, the things you need. Then all you need to do is to have a place where you can keep them. If you are a farmer, you already have a place. You don't need to build a house for them, because it's the plants that attract them. So if you don't have a farm of your own, somebody who has a farm, you can talk to the person. It's good for the farmer because they pollinate. So you don't need too much to start. So if you look at 5 or 10 hives plus your suit, about 150,000 should start you off.
Let's begin again, Mrs. Obianoju Okpo. Break it down, for somebody who wants to get involved in get into commercial beekeeping. What are the fundamentals?
The first thing you want to do is to get some knowledge on beekeeping before you get into it. And then for the monetary part of it, hive, like Dr. Kwangi said, it's very cheap. So you get, with 12,000 naira, you can get a hive. And then you can get like the 12,000 naira times 10. That's about 120,000 naira for 10 hives. And each hive, a hive is where the bees live. Okay. And then each hive in a day can give you up to 34 kg of honey.
And that's how
much? And a kg of honey sells for about 3,000 naira. So you're looking at...
Is it measured in kg or in liters?
No, honey is measured in weight. Kgs. So the 1 kg is about 3,000 naira. And 3,000 naira times 34 kg, that's about 120,000 naira that you make out of a 12,000 naira investment. So you find out that it's very lucrative. So if you want to really now get into the commercial part of it, you invest more into it, and your payback time is less than 2 years.
I asked the question, what is a hive? That's where the bees live. Now, how big is a hive, a standard hive?
The Langstroth hive can be 20 inches by 15 inches. Or the Kenya top bar can be 23 inches by 20 inches. By 15 inches.
The bees don't escape, they don't leave the hive? Do you have to feed them like a fish farm or something?
No, the beautiful thing about the bees is that they have a queen. It's all about the queen. All the workers, the drones, everybody, they work for the queen. So once the queen is comfortable, the hive stays. If the queen gets uncomfortable, the scout bees will go out to look for another home for the queen. And when they find it, they come and tell the queen. And when the queen goes there and likes the new place, they'll all migrate and go there. So if the queen is happy, so the beekeeper, your goal is to make sure the queen is comfortable. So the worker bees now go out to get all the goodies for the queen. And it's these goodies that are stored as honey that some of us now take from them. The bees term it rubbing. We rub them part of that food that they have stored for the colony and for the queen. And then that's what we call honey. And then for the propolis, if you create a space, the bees will always close any areas of infestation from predators. Anybody outside of the colony are called predators. Okay. So they use propolis to cover the space that predators can get in. So we also go and scoop out the propolis because it's also used in pharmacology in pharmacology. So, and then the bee venom. The venom is is used for rheumatoid arthritis, and some people get it from straight bee sting. You don't have to like extract the venom from the bees to use it. For the apitherapy in Nigeria right now, people get bee stings for rheumatism. So you get a few stings every week. It helps with.
How does one then deal with, because you're talking about hives? Unfortunately, we don't have the illustration. Unless you do, then we could upload that on the screen. If you have an illustration of a beehive, we have seen the honeycomb and the others on the screen, as well as the honey syrup itself. But you know, I mean, the impression that the number of persons would have about bees is the sting that you get from them. So if you have, let's say, 10 hives, and then you say everybody, okay, try and do something at the subsistence level or at the commercial level. When the bees go out, how do you ensure that they don't sting you, or when they are coming back, do they have GPS or something? You know, so
the bees outside of their homes don't look for trouble. When you get a bee sting, you've done something wrong. The bees, when they go out, their business is to go and forage or get water and come back. So, but if you go and block their pathway, because they have a fly path, if you go and block their pathway, you're looking for trouble. Or if you come to their hive and you block their entrance, you're looking for trouble. So you find out that when the bees are out there, they're not looking for you. They're looking for where to get their nectar, where to get their water, where to get their pollen and take back to the queen, because it's all about the queen.
All right. Well, Okello, tell us, still on this issue of sting, there was a report some months ago about some police officers who converged, who decided to disperse some protesters somewhere in East Africa, and then they had a swarm of bees all over, and then everybody was, looking for safety. Policemen to their use, so they disrupt the flight path of these bees or something, or those ones are remotely controlled bees in the African context.
Interesting. I watched this on video, but no one spoke about how it all started. But my guess is that someone must have deliberately used it as a weapon. Okay. And this is always true, because bees, once they're instigated, like Madame Oju said, they will always fight. And they fight because they're defending the queen. And so I guess what is important here is that when we are embracing commercial beekeeping, we want to ensure there is public safety first. And our recommendation is always that you put the hives at least 100 meters away from any human settlement or livestock settlement. And that is important, because you want to ensure that other livestock and human beings are safe. That also means that for those who are beginning, you have to get the skills, you get the training, so that you do the right thing. The other thing is that ideally we should train our people, let them know that bees are not, they're not jokers. Once you disturb them, they will fight, and they can kill people. If they are more than 200 stings, and in a hive you can have up to 70,000 beehives. So you can imagine when one hive is open, they can wipe up the whole crew here at the station.
We'll be alive because we have no hive. we have no hive yet. But this is important. I would like us to speak some more. I mean, you guys to speak some more with regard to public safety, because listening, I mean, it appears to be so simple. You get maybe a 2-foot by 2-foot hive, and then you keep it in your neighborhood, and suddenly there's disaster. Public safety, how do you ensure this? Who is competent to get into commercial beekeeping and honey production? Because I tell you something, my understanding of bees and honey has to be something that you get in the bush, and then you have to be properly kitted. So why would this one now be coming so close to the home? Okay, again.
Yes, One of the things I already mentioned is awareness. I think everything we have to let people know, the practitioners, but also the general public. It's important for people to know. But the second thing is this: for those who are practicing, one way to do it is to fence off the farm. We call that farm an apiary. Fence it off to ensure that should there be anybody or any animal straying, at least they are kept away from the bees. So I think these are some of the things that this event that we are planning in September will really bring to the fore, so that people don't take things for granted. Yes, there is the commercialization. Yes, there is numbers, but also there are those aspects that we want to bring out. When many people begin to embrace, just imagine in one village, if 10 people are involved in beekeeping and they are keeping big numbers, you've got to ensure that they do it right and they don't endanger the public.
How do you get, I mean, in agriculture, let's say cropping, they say you get your seeds and seedlings. So how do you get the initial, shall we say, initial stock to take off?
There are two ways of doing that. You know, bees exist already, and so you can capture bees, you can bait bees, that's what it's called. They have what they call bait hives. If you put it in most places where you have a lot of vegetation, bees will, you know, get attracted. They may enter the, you know, bait hive, and then you start. And then there are those that breed queens. It's the queen that lays the eggs, you know, that you have the workers, you have the drones and all that. So those are two ways of doing that. And we are hoping that in Nigeria, we'll have more of the people that are also breeding. You know, in other climes, you have people who are in that business. They breed to sell. Okay. You know, we're not doing that a lot now. But people that are getting trained, you know, different trainings in different places. Mostly people, you know, capture swarms and they keep.
All right. So
I'm just wondering, Rhoda, I mean, let's bring in Mrs. Okbo again. There are different types of bees, I believe. Different types of bees. So which of them can be used for commercial beekeeping? Because you see some very big bees, you know, when they are flying, I mean, you can hear they sound like that of a drone. And then you see others that look pretty small, apparently harmless. So what kind of bees can be used for beekeeping?
There are in a colony, there are three types. The queen, which is like the largest, the biggest in size. Then there's the drone, the male one, which is like the middle part of the three of them. And then there's the smallest one, which are the workers. And the workers, they have the young, they have the ones that are not very young, and they have the older ones. So the three sizes, when you see the bees, when you see the sizes, you'll be able to differentiate. The workers are the ones that really work for the colony. The drones, their prime objective is to mate with the queen. And once they mate with the queen, they die. And then the queen continues to lay eggs. And when the eggs hatch, they become workers. So it's like a cycle.
So they die after they...
with the queen, yes. And if a bee stings you, they die immediately because the sting is attached to the abdomen. So when they sting and they remove the sac, the venom sac, it pulls, that means their gut is gone. And that's the end.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure we have all seen this. I mean, you are experts in this business. When you go to the market, for instance, you know, the grocery, and you see where they are selling fruits, you know, particularly you see watermelon, pineapple, and you see all those ones. Those ones are part of the...
Those are the worker bees.
Those ones, but they don't sting.
They don't sting.
Okay.
So who sting? Which of them stings?
The worker bees. They can all sting, but the worker bees are really the ones that go out to do all the work. When the drones take a flight with the queen, they're going out. When they want to mate, the queen takes a flight, and the drones follow her out
to where?
to a mating area. Okay. So the drones go to meet with her. So, but the ones we all see, like in the marketplace, the workers, the smell of sugar and honey, all those things attract them. So they go there to see if there are potentials. So the reason you see them near the fruit is potential for something they can take back to the colony.
You are into production, and of course,
I'm a beekeeper too.
You're a beekeeper. You produce honey, and
package
you package and you export. Tell us about the production process. Part of the challenges some people have had, especially in terms of getting local honey, is the process of producing it. Some people have said that, you know, the methods of, you know, getting it in terms of production, the way it's done, it would lose, you know, its essence. You know, locally, the way it's, some people are not familiar with how it should properly be done. They just do it haphazardly. So you see that a lot of people want to go for foreign honey. Just tell us about the way you go about your production and how honey should be produced.
Okay, well, what we do is that during pre-harvesting, we go to check to make sure that the combs are capped.
How long does it take to harvest a beehive?
It depends on how many frames you're taking out, because each hive has frames inside them, and the bees work on the frames to store the honey. So when you remove the frames, the combs are capped. We now uncap them and put them into a machine. And for our company, you don't see it again until it is packaged, because it spins in a centrifuge and goes through a tunnel to a holding place where it stays for the honey to settle. After that, it goes into the packaging place, and our machine fills and seals the package. Then after it comes out, we now take the finished product and send it to the public analyst for NAFDAC, who certifies both the packaging, that there's nothing that is good for human consumption before it goes into the market. So we have a few companies that are NAFDAC certified that go through this. And in that process, you don't have all your hazard areas are covered, but you still take samples in the middle, maybe the filtration area, to make sure that the honey that gets there is still not contaminated before packaging.
All right. How do you determine or recognize genuine honey?
It's only through a test. People say that they use a match, they scratch this. Is not. All those are like the right way to know real honey is by the analysis.
What kind of analysis? For example, if because we're talking about local, we're trying to say, okay, then we have to penalize, you know, local honeys that are locally produced here. I've told you the challenge is getting to know which one is original. You have a lot of adulterated honey with sugar. You know,
when you see the base of the bottle in which it is packed, you would know that you've been actually consuming sugar. Processed sugar.
I disagree with you strongly about that, because that could be crystallized honey. Crystallization is a natural phenomenon in honey. It depends on the sugar level of the honey. That will either make the honey to crystallize or not crystallize. So when people see sediments under a bottle, they're like, this is fake honey. But it really is not. That's crystallized. All you have to do is maybe put it in the microwave for a few seconds or put it in warm water to dissolve so that you can use it. So it's not all honey. I'm not saying that people don't adulterate with sugar. Yeah. But if you buy from a known source and you have issues like that, they could be honestly crystallized.
Does original honey attract ants?
You see, you're going back to the myth again. So if you want to know the real honey, you have to do a test. Because depending on the sugar level of the honey, some people during the dirt period, there's a dirt period where the nectars are not fully there, that you have to supplement feeding. If you supplement feeding with sugar or you supplement feeding with honey water, you find out that your sugar, the ants can be attracted to that honey at the end of the day.
So that means that I could have an original honey and it could as well attract ants. That doesn't mean that it's not original.
Well, yeah, part of the test, you're talking about, Mrs. Oko, you're talking about the myth. Part of what one learned years ago, and Okel, I would like you to speak to this, is to say, listen, if you want to ascertain the genuineness of honey, just put a little drop on the surface, and if it attracts the bigger ants, rather than the smaller ones, then the bigger ones, that means that it is not genuine. Even the small ones, it is genuine. So how, on the face of it, because not everybody you can't go and buy a bottle of honey now from the shops, and you are looking for, a NAFDAC analysis to ascertain that. Okello.
Well, I think this has always been a raging discussion everywhere. People want to be sure that what they are consuming is of good quality. I guess what my colleague Uju has been telling the viewers is really important, that NAFDAC gets involved and certifies the products that are sold commercially. Now, there are basic things, basic tests for quality that people can do. And in terms of whether insects are attracted to genuine honey or non-genuine honey, those insects are attracted to everything sweet. So if you drop there a drop of honey, whether it is genuine or not genuine, they will come. Therefore, it is not an empirical test. The empirical test, the objective test, is what she mentioned. You buy honey, which is certified by NAFDAC, then it is genuine. If you see people carrying something that looks like honey in a bottle, you cannot be sure. So even if you do the drop test, it will not confirm that it is genuine or not genuine.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Kwange. Mrs. Opo was talking about the sugar content of the honey. And part of the attraction of honey these days, particularly for middle class and those who become health conscious, is to run away from processed sugar, which is implicated in diabetes. And now you're talking about the sugar content. Although some health experts say that, look, honey may just be as guilty, in the spike in your blood sugar level. What do you do? Is honey therefore safe, to use? I'm not asking you to give any medical opinion, but we just generally, so that somebody always doesn't say, look, I heard that on Good Morning Nigeria. So what do you do, with regard to honey that is too sweet or honey that is not so sweet? How do you get to ascertain it? Because when you are buying it, it's sealed. Nobody, you won't go to the market and say you open it and then you start tasting it. That's wahala, I believe.
Just to say that one of the reasons we are doing this expo and what we hope to achieve is the fact that once we get into commercialization, the people that are producing honey in the communities, they know that the people that are buying honey from them want quality honey. They will be taught, you need to do this, you need to do that. Now, what happens generally is if she's taking honey from somebody, she will test. If it doesn't meet that standard, then she cannot buy. So if you are not doing the right thing, your honey will not sell. Now, in the end, there is a level, a sugar level as you test that is, okay in the honey. There's a certain level of moisture that is also okay. They will also test for other whether metals or whether other chemicals and so on. So there are levels, they call them minimum, levels that you can have in a product, not just honey now, that is acceptable, that is, okay. So those that are, having their products certified that they can sell, that we are sure of, we have gone through the whole hog of what is okay. So if you're buying honey off the shelf in a supermarket, is being certified, then you are sure what you are taking is healthy and it's okay. Now, what I'm saying is we are looking at a system where we'll be able to trace honey backward to where it's coming from. Okay, so the people that want, the beekeepers that want to sell their honey, not package, they know that we need to do this, we need to do that for our honey to be okay for us to sell. Because if it doesn't meet this level, I cannot sell. And I want to be in business, so I need to comply. And then the government is working with the Standards Organization of Nigeria and NAFDAC to ensure that the honey that comes out is, good quality honey for consumption. Also, the government is working, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is working with the Nigeria Export Promotion Council to have Nigeria listed on the EU third country listing, which once we know that that honey is certified, can be sold into, the EU market. And that quality of honey, we know that is good for, consumption.
All right, let's bring in Obianuju Okmo. How are you competing with international brands? And what are you having challenges? What are the challenges you're having in terms of exporting your products?
For exportation of product, we have to be listed. Most of the countries outside international, European countries, the Americas, the need for us to have the country listing before we can get into their market. But we trade within West Africa and the rest of Africa. So, but the biggest challenge we have is actually raw material. The packaging we use must be food grade. Currently, we are importing raw material, packaging material. And then the raw material, we don't have enough. So you find people wanting to buy your products, but you really don't have enough money to package. So that's why we're happy that this program is coming to Nigeria. It will open up it will work as a catalyst for investors to see what is in the sector so that they can come and invest into commercial beekeeping, which will now give us raw material to package for people that are already in the market and for potentials. So the biggest problem we have really is raw materials. Indorama used to make our type of packaging, but they stopped like 5 years ago. They started we use PS, polysterol, and they are using it now to make ceilings. So now we have to go outside the country to buy the PS that we used to do packaging. And it's a byproduct of our crude.
How effective are our labs?
The NAFDAC has some certified public analysts. We use the one out of a few universities. There are universities with good labs, and Furo, they also have Furo. NAFDAC uses Furo too. So the labs for now are doing the minimal that Nigeria is doing, but for international, we are NEPC and Federal Ministry of Agriculture is partnering with a company out of Uganda that has the certification for third country listing. They've been in the country a couple of times to train us to the receiver monitoring plan so that we can do things the right way if we want to compete. So for international markets, we have a company we're working with outside the country. But for African markets and the West Coast, we also have.
If you, as you said earlier, that Nigeria imports 95% of our honey needs, should exportation be our priority or actually meeting domestic demand?
Both, because Nigeria can really play in the international market. It's not just about honey. We have the colonies that Dr. Kwangi talked about. We have the propolis. We have other hive products that we can actually trade in. The beeswax, they use them to make bullets. Germany is interested in beeswax. We were in Istanbul last year for the World Congress, the Epimondia, and we signed a lot of MOU with countries looking for Nigerian beeswax because some of them use them for bulletproof, for different components. And but we can't make them because we don't have people. So really, we've developed every aspect of the beekeeping. We can earn money both locally and internationally.
Okay, I'm wondering, give us a sense of what happens. Is there any stellar example on the African continent of commercial beekeeping? What have they done right?
Yes, indeed. Yesterday we were at the Abuja International Conference Center, where we were doing the flag off ceremony to drum up the level of support or the level of participation at the forthcoming event in September. And one of the clear examples that we shared with the stakeholders was the case of Ethiopia, how they have been successful very pragmatic in terms of commercializing beekeeping and trading in the numerous products that Madam Uju was talking about. What basically Ethiopia has done is they have involved everybody. They have involved the youth and trained the youth in areas where they are technically competent. They have trained them in the process of making hives. You know, youth are energetic people. They can make very good hives to the standards that are used. They have been trained in making bee suits, the protective gear. They have been trained in making harvesting tools and so on. Now, what happened is that when all these things are used properly, when farmers have access to these things, when farmers are trained properly, they are able to produce quality, but also produce in volumes. And as we talk right now, Ethiopia produces about 45,000 metric tons. 45,000 metric tons. This is huge. And a lot of that is exported. It's exported to Europe, it's exported to America, it's exported to the Middle East. Ethiopia, as a matter of fact, is a fourth global exporter of beeswax. Globally, you can imagine. So these are cases that countries like Nigeria and everybody else can learn from, not only in terms of export, but also the domestic market. Ethiopia is a huge country, a population of about 80 million people, which of course is short of what the population is here. So Ethiopia is a typical case of a success story in Africa. The thing is, if Ethiopians can do it, can't Nigerians do it?
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's take some of the updates that have come in very quickly before we, of course, get to our other complementary segments. This is from Olajide. Honey production can be improved if governments create direct link with the local producer and then give them necessary assistance.
And Victor Wonsama too says the benefits of honey to our health cannot be overemphasized in view of the diversification of the economic policy of the federal government. Honey production or consumption and exportation should be encouraged.
Dele Jack Solomon, I'm taking Dele Jack Solomon now, and says, given the employment and poverty reduction potentials of honey production, especially among rural dwellers, policies should be targeted increasing the participation of women in beekeeping and providing accessible credit to beekeepers as a means of diversifying the economy.
And the Mike and Yoko tweets, says the importance of economic diversification cannot be overemphasized. Kudos to the present government in changing Nigeria from being a mono economy where we depend only on oil. This will greatly help us to absorb any shock that may occur in any subsector. It encourages growth and employment.
Chris tweets, honey has a lot of benefits to both humans and animals as it cures many ailments, but the government, private sector, and individuals do not appear to see this as a lucrative business with great economic benefits and potential.
And finally, Jonathan tweets, he says, indeed, honey production is one of the ways to diversify our economy if properly harnessed. But the question is that there are roadmaps put in place by government to help the small. Are there roadmaps to encourage small-scale producers or beekeepers, because most of them are really ignorant of this? Well, we have some more tweets, but I'd like Dr. Kwange to also speak to this. That's the question somebody's just asking now. Is there any special funding by government to encourage, people to go into beekeeping?
The government has funding sources, that cover agriculture, generally.
Yeah.
And the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, in conjunction with the Nigeria Apiculture Platform, they are working towards having beekeeping to be included on the Anko Boras program, which is one of government funding. So the Bank of Agriculture also gives loans for agricultural, ventures. So in that wise, government is doing that to encourage beekeeping. And also from the Nigeria Apiculture Platform, Nigeria, the government is trying to encourage beekeepers to come together, because as they do that, then they will be able to explore other ways and means of garnering, funding for their various projects.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Very quickly, Mrs. Obianju Okpo, the impression I get is that, oh, okay, you have, then if you have 10,000, if you have 120,000, you can say. But when you were describing your operation, it would appear to be you would need, some other processing equipment. These costs have not been factored in. Does beekeeping and therefore honey production admit of something similar to the outgrowers scheme? In other words, you have persons who are producing in pockets of different locations. They now get their honey and then come to give to somebody else who will process it. Is it amenable to that? Very quickly.
Oh yes, yes it is. We do that because we take from a lot of our small cooperatives that we empower to farm, and then we take from them.
All right, thank you very much. We'd like to appreciate Mrs. Obianju Okpo, which is of the Nigeria Apiculture Platform. As a honey producer, thanks a lot for being around.
Thank you.
We also would like to thank Dr. Badushima Kwange, Director of the Federal Ministry of Agric and Rural Development, and Mr. Bosco Okello, CEO Apitrade Africa, one of the organizers of the forthcoming conference on beekeeping and honey production. Thanks a lot for being around. Okay, so let's take a look now at our complimentary segment, and we are going to sports with a story.